said before, I don't want no more. And I can't complain, 'cause my mind's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Hey! And I said before, don't want no more. And I can't complain, mine's insane. Say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Trees, nothing more to believe. I can't be sure, and I know that crazy life is just a pleasant breeze. I just ashore, pleasing me a little more. Nothing in a fight, be everything that lights me. Hope I get my tea up. Down you lay, no second last on my way. Don't let the set devour you lie forever. You lay, no second last down my way. Don't let the protect the phone you life forever. No! And I said before, I don't want no more. Oh, yeah! And I can't complain, 'cause my mind's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Well, I said before, I don't want no more. Complain, 'cause my mind's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Mine's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. nothing more to believe. I can't be sure, and I know that crazy life is just a pleasant breeze. I trust the shore, listen me a little more. Nothing in a fight, be everything that might be. Hope I get my team up. Down you lay, no second last on my way. Don't let the set to follow you like forever. Now you lay, no second last on my way. Don't let the set to follow you like forever. Now, and I said before, I don't want no more. Oh, yeah, and I can't complain, 'cause my mind's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Well, I said before, I don't want no more. And I can't complain, 'cause my mind's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Hey! And I said before, I don't want no more. And I can't complain, mine's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Leaves on the trees, nothing more to believe. I can't be sure, and I know that crazy life is just a pleasant breeze. I trust the shore, listen me a little more. Nothing in a fight, be everything that might be. Hope I get my team up. Down you lay, no second last on my way. Don't let the set to follow you like forever. Now you lay, no second last on my way. Don't let the set to follow you like forever. Now, and I said before, I don't want no more. Oh, yeah, and I can't complain, my mind's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again. Well, I said before, I don't want no more. And I can't complain, 'cause my mind's insane. I won't say it again, and I won't even think about it. I just hope you believe me, but I think that you're gonna doubt it when I say it again.
Happy Tuesday, children of the lawn.
Way off. They're way off.
What?
What?
Who's they?
Us, you and me.
We're way off?
Way off.
Okay, so that was Dr. Hobbs.
Yeah. So I wanted to see, because when I first started all this, when I first started this whole thing, there were some copyright issues, right? My guest for today, Crispin Cio, our guest for today, our friend for today, our dressing room hangout, whatever. So anyway, back in the beginning of our broadcasting episode, we got busted for playing different music, whether it was my band playing cover music or whatever it was, and there were some real copyright things going on. I even got busted for playing my own music. So I thought I would try to trick them today, because I remember Randy saying that he was getting busted for his own music, and that he was going to write to somebody. I don't know if you know, but Randy Jackson's like a letter writer. He'll write to he gets, and I don't mean that he writes letters, but I mean he's a diligent seeker of fairness, and he doesn't think it was fair that he should get
flagged for
playing his own music. I mean, I would have to agree.
Yeah.
But that's showbiz.
So you decided.
So I decided, that to play a song that he got busted for playing that he wrote, that we played in Dr. Hobbs. In fact,
so
I think
it was not Zebra.
It was not. That was not Zebra.
No,
that was Dr.
Zebra.
Hobbs.
That was Steve.
Did somebody think it was Zebra? Did somebody? No.
Larry Hobbs.
And Randy, and myself. Mm-hmm. So that would be the Robin Race Zebra Band, or Rat Robin. Zebra Rat Robin.
Zabrat.
Zabrat Robin.
Robin Zabrat. Ooh.
Okay. Getting a little close to the bone. So,
okay.
So that's why I played that, because I want to see if...
Well, I thought it sounded good.
Yeah, it did sound good. I mean, we had one rehearsal. It was like, hey, Randy, I have a couple gigs for us. You want to form a band? Okay. No, we don't want this. Migrate settings. Do not migrate. I don't know what this even is here. Close this. Quit After Effects. Thank you very much. We don't want After Effects on, do we? No. But it won't leave. Why? Because it hates me. Quit.
You know what?
What?
That's about all the negativity that you're
We can't have any more negativity.
No. This is the No Gloom Ballroom. No negativity. Okay?
See, even I take crap.
It does not hate you.
What? After Effects?
Yes.
No. Oh, wow. Somebody's early.
Oh.
That's okay, though. Are you sure you want to exit? No, I do not wish to exit. Okay. So, well, Crispin's here. Why don't we start early with him, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, now Crispin is the sax player for the Uptown Horns.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know that. What's this now?
And he's currently playing with the Hollywood All-Star
Stars. The All-Stars. Yeah, that includes Macy's and Gimbel's.
Hollywood All-Stars. And the Uptown Horns also did a tour with the Rolling Stones.
Oh, they've done a lot of stuff. Well, you know what? Here.
Let's let him tell us.
Let's let him tell us.
Hey.
Hey.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
What's happening?
Well, everything. And, everything at the same time, as usual.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, it's been a while since we chatted. And right. I'm wondering, because I'm watching the business just morph right in front of me, man. It's like,
right.
It's nuts. And, I'm wondering what it's been like for you guys. What have you, been working, or is there anything, what's going on?
It's been good for me, and it's been good for the Uptown Horns. Live music, I think, is a big thing these days. Not everybody wants to talk about it in the media, but it's true. You know what I mean? And I'm not just talking about Coachella, there's several generations of Americans who want to, and all over the world, people who want to hear live music. I mean, one mundane example is the popularity of, cover and tribute bands. You know what I mean? Who, I don't know about your area, but up here in
Oh,
New England, it's huge.
it's everywhere. I mean, it really
Um,
is.
among other things, that's not the only thing, but it's people want to go out and hear music. So that's our whole thing, and that's what my whole thing, anyways. I mean, we're doing recording stuff we'll talk about too, but that's an amazing unintended consequence of all this stuff that's gone on.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I was saying to Lori, we've been locked up in this house for 2 years, and it's amazing that neither one of us has any scars or bruises.
Right.
But I got to figure a lot of people feel that way, and especially, I say this all the time with regard to the situation. I can't imagine if I was in my between 20 and 30, anywhere in that part of my career, and this had happened. I
Right.
mean, you know, the bus would like pass you by.
No,
Horrible.
I agree, and I really feel for the generations, that's teens and 20s, coming up and dealing with this. But my guess is, based on past experience, there'll be plenty of great music, and it'll find a way to get out.
Well, I think what this whole thing has spawned. I mean, look at Billie Eilish. She's not hurting, right? she's
No,
do, she's doing okay. And I think what's happening there now is because of all the gear that everybody has a studio now. I mean,
true.
and
It's true.
everybody can make records. Yeah, if you have a good mic and a good mic pre,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I
So
mean,
it's
throughout, this started for me like 6 or 7 years ago, but in the COVID era, I've done a lot of session work from home. People just want me to play solos or put horn section parts down, which I can do from home, and that's carried into this era we're in right now. I mean, I still go into studios, but the ability to do that is amazing, and I love it. It's another aspect of playing music with people.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but well, let me ask you about that because
Sure.
I mean, I have a studio here, multi-track, so I can cut drums and
Right.
what goes on here.
Right.
But I'm wondering, an acoustic instrument, man, that's got
Well,
to be an interesting set of challenges to get your sound.
well, I use yeah, I have worked on it. I use Logic, you know,
Yeah.
um, and I use it on my MacBook Pro. I have a really good mic for my saxophone and vocals, you know, Neumann TLM 103. Those are
Oh yeah, yep,
yeah,
great
this is
mic.
great. And I've A-B'd it for years on sessions with other stuff. And for the money, that for me is the best sound. And I've really especially during COVID, I really played around with like positioning myself and in my little studio room, and mic position and angle, and all that stuff. And just because, I had the time to do it. And that's very valuable, you know.
Man, I did the same thing. I mean, I have obviously. I mean, you're playing a monophonic, instrument.
Yeah.
So and the sound is directed. I have a big set of drums, so every day I'm in there moving the mics and doing this and
Right.
doing that. And finally, you get it to that place, and it's pretty cool. So people, I guess, are sending you. They call them stems, but I don't think they're really stems. But
No,
that what
yeah, yeah,
happens?
sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I've done some soundtrack work where they sent, with a couple of friends of mine who do soundtracks for independent films and stuff. Worked on an Abel Ferrara film during the pandemic that was pretty cool. Would take too long to tell the story, but and let's see, I've done record solo stuff, for people, and you know what, I can take the time to really like craft something, and I've been doing it so much in the last 6 or 7 years that I've gotten better at it, just in terms of that. The other thing I use it for is writing. but
Oh yeah.
that's not for really demos I would send anybody, but just for my own writing, you know what I mean? And arranging, because a lot of what I and the other Uptown Horns do is arranging horns, We are doing an album just starting right now for amazing record do you ever hear of Arlen Roth? The guitar
Sure.
player?
Yeah.
Arlen is an old friend of mine, and Jerry Jamat, the bass player.
Hmm?
King Curtis and the Kingpins, and he played on, Aretha's stuff, like Think, he played on that. And then I Say a Little Prayer for You. I know these two guys forever. And many years ago in the early 80s, they asked me to join them in a band backing up Dwayne Eddy. And
Wow.
we toured all over the country doing that. So ever since then, I've been good friends with them. Well, they're doing an album right now. They finished all the basics up here in the New York metro area of soul classics, instrumental and some vocals. And Arlen is a real, monster on
Oh,
guitar.
I know. I know.
And they just called up and said, we really want to put the Uptown Horns on it. So we've written the arrangements. We're going in the studio next week to lay them down. And it's classic stuff, but it's like, and Chris Parker is the drummer, by the way.
Oh wow, yeah, he plays.
So you're talking about, these tracks sound so good, just the raw tracks. And we're they want us to stick pretty close to the original horn arrangements, which we're doing. So it's familiar R&B stuff, it's like some Motown, and some Stax, that kind of thing. But Arlen playing a solo over that, he's so melodic and he's so amazing. So that's, and then the other thing, which I think about, that the Horns have been working on a lot, is Steve Gaspar's group, the Hollywood All Stars.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we went back we did the EP, and he looks like thanks to you guys, they're doing something with a company, right?
Yeah. Well,
we went back in and recorded another tune, which is pretty amazing, because the story behind it is, we did that song "Living in America" back in the '80s with James.
the Uptown Horns did it with James.
Uptown
Brown.
Horns, yes.
Yeah.
With and Dan Hartman and Charlie Midnight wrote that song, and Dan produced it, and we did it in California because we were on the road with Robert Plant and the Honey Drippers in 1985, and he happened to be out there, and he said, "I got this thing." Sylvester Stallone called me and told me to write a hit for James Brown for Rocky IV, and we did it. And like 2 months, 3-4 months later, it was number one. Dan was one of my all-time favorite musical heroes. He just was such a great producer, writer, played and he wrote Free Ride,
Yeah, sure.
so much stuff. And I used to go to his house in Westport, Connecticut, which was where I live, by the way.
Exit 18, right? Is it still Exit 18?
Yes, it's Exit 18. And before we moved here, I would come up and do sessions for him at his home studio. I did a record with him for Dusty Springfield. Amazing stuff. He did pass away, very sad, but his talent lives on. Well, Steve Gaspar from the Hollywood All Stars dug up the demo that we did for Living in America, which was very similar. A lot of those tracks, like the horn tracks, got transferred over to become the final that were that good, but it's a slightly different version, and that's what we've been working on for this album. And it's just, Tommy Bowes sings it and lead, and it's pretty amazing. So we're very hyped on that right now.
I'm a huge James Brown fan.
Yeah.
And I go all the way back. I tell the story all the time, but I saw James back at the RKO Theater. I think it was 62 or 63. I was 11 or 12. We were the only two white kids in the audience.
Right, right.
It was when he had the famous Flames with the 2 drum sets.
Yeah.
Just, monstrous.
Yeah.
And
Same for me. When we got to work with him, it was totally a thrill of a lifetime. As you can imagine.
How could it not be? That's got to be.
But,
wow.
We had just come off the road with Robert Plant and the Honey Drippers, and we had very long hair, much longer than I have now, and we were dressed very rock and roll. We came into the studio the first time we met him. We'd already done Living in America, so that was a hit. Now we were going to do the whole album, which is
Wow.
called. So we came into the studio the first day with Dan, and Dan Hartman says, "Mr. Brown, I want you to meet the Uptown Horns," and he was there with his wife at the time in the studio in New York, and he just stared at us. He didn't say anything. And I just, it was James Brown. So I went up and I said, "I got to shake your hand, Mr. Brown. I don't think I would be playing music if it wasn't for you and Maceo Parker,
Maceo.
And he looked at me and he shook his head and he said, I bet you wouldn't, and we said, no, and then, the other guy stepped up and said, your music's meant everything to us, the way you put it together. And he just shook his head and he turned to his wife and he says, boy, my music touches all kinds of people.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one. I tell you what, my experience with James Brown was a little different. I'm the RKO Theater, balcony, whole thing, and I'm in maybe, I don't know, like fourth row, fifth row, so I'm stage right, so house left. And at the end of the show, he does, the thing with the capes and this and that and the other. He does the capes, and then he has his JB cufflinks. Right. He goes over stage left and throws one out to the girls, and they all go nuts. And he comes over to our side of the stage, and he sees the two whitest little things that he could ever see sitting in the audience, and he throws the thing right at me. And I put my hand out, and I feel it hit my hand, and then blam! I was over. I never saw it again. But what an experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For sure. So, I mean, and you guys have done the walk. Is Arno, how's he doing?
Well, I just spoke with him. He was just to bring people up to date, he was in a car accident a couple of months ago that was not his fault. Somebody just veered over the oncoming lane and crashed right into him. He was actually on his way to my house here in Connecticut. But he has, he had very successful operations on his legs, and he's been in a rehab facility, really good one in Manhattan since then. And he's just about to get released, and he's just about next week to do this session with us for Jerry Jamad and Arlen Roth.
Yeah.
So he's coming back. It was a pretty serious accident, but he is coming back. He got the best care possible, thanks to his daughter, and she got him in at the hospital for asbestos surgery in New York, and he'll be back. He'll be back.
Well, absolutely, give him my best, man.
Yes.
It's been a minute since I've seen him and the other guys, but hey, listen, you know what? We're all doing it. I actually, you were talking about the record, the Hollywood All Stars record.
Yeah.
I had Steve on the show, and he said, yeah, I'm doing this thing, and blah, 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 blah. And I had just, the label that you guys signed with, I had just signed a deal with. And I was bragging on him. And Steve said, well, can you give me an ink? Can you give me a... And I absolutely did. Because I heard some of the stuff, and it hits... It hits me in that good
way. It really
place.
does, and we did it, a gig, and it killed at the Wall Street Theater in Norwalk. So now we know we can really, do this thing, and we're going to do. We've got a big show coming up in Waterbury, Connecticut, on Saturday, June 25th. That's a big theater. In Waterbury, and we're doing that show, and it's for a great charity too. And a little added bonus that we just found out about is the Uptown Horns are being inducted individually and together into the New England Music Hall of Fame, and they're going to do it that night on the 25th in Waterbury.
Bravo, man!
Yeah, thank you.
Well deserved. Yeah, man. Hey, listen.
Well,
how long has the ensemble been together?
Well, we started what this really was, this quartet. We started this quartet in 1980, and Arno and I had been friends prior to that. I moved to New York in '76. I had been living in Boston. I'm originally from Detroit.
So you got all kinds of stuff in your DNA.
Oh, I do. I grew up, I was a teenager, literally in the 60s when Motown was happening in Detroit.
Wow.
So that was my DNA. I didn't think I was going to be a musician. I went to University of Michigan. I wanted to be a writer and a filmmaker. But I had been a musician all my life, played clarinet and had a jug band in high school with my dear friend to this day, James Montgomery.
Sure.
And we're still best friends and still play together. And after, I had a great time in Michigan and Ann Arbor doing, studying that stuff and writing and studying film. But I just realized the music's in me. I want it to come out. So I switched, got a saxophone, practiced, got into Wayne State University in music. Then I went to Berkeley for a year. Then I started playing in bars and bands and ended up in New York, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Usual. But I met Arno when I first moved to New York, and we played together a lot with different people, like Chuck Berry. We did gigs with Chuck Berry, the two of us.
Wow.
At the Ritz. And, at some point, I was doing a lot of things. I was playing with a singer named Carolyn Moss, who was great. On Mercury Records, we did 3 albums and toured. And I was playing with Mick DeVille.
Yeah.
But there was something about this thing with me and Arno and this original trumpet player was Paul Literal. And then we brought in this guy, Bob Funk, on trombone in 1980. And we started, at the same time, there was a great club, you must remember it, called Tramps.
Sure. I played there with Entwistle.
Right.
Absolutely.
So the original one was on 15th Street, on Gramercy Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really good friends with the owner, at this point. He asked me to do a jam night. And this was really when roots music hadn't quite taken off like the way it did soon,
Yeah.
But that's what Terry Dunn, the owner of this bar, wanted to do. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. But I got these 3 other guys I'm with now, and called the Uptown Horns. So if you got to take on an ad in the Village Voice, separate from your club, and say, Uptown Horns party Tuesday night, 9 to 4 a.m. And in 2 months, we had a great band. We had Mark Rebo playing guitar in the band. Charlie Giordano was playing keyboards, from Springsteen's band now. He was my old friend. So, we got people down, and then anybody who was in town started coming down to jam with us. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Elvis Costello, Dr. John, David Johansen. That's how we really got into playing with David, and later did Buster Poindexter with him. And after 2 or 3 years of that, the Jay Giles band came down to see us.
Wow.
This was right when Centerfold was taking off. And they said, we want to add a horn section. So, we did it. And by that time we were playing on records. We had done an album with Iggy and other people from that era, early 80s. Holly and the Italians, if you remember them. We were doing stuff. But then with the Jay Giles band, we were on the road, so that led to one, blah, blah, blah. By 10 years after that, 1989, 90, we were with the Rolling Stones, on their Steel Wheels tour. It was, there's something about 4 people playing, 3 or 4 people playing horns, the same guys,
Yeah.
And the trumpet player switched after 10 years. Larry Edkin has been our trumpet player for, the last 30 years. But there's something about the 4
New guy.
Yeah. Well, he was with us whenever we needed a second trumpet anyway, but he's great. There's something about the sound you get with the same people. It's not, there's so many great horn players in, New York, LA, all over the country. But if people who stay together, like, generally speaking, Tower Power, Memphis horns, it just Jack Mack and the Heart Attack horns back in the day, Earth, Wind and Fire horns, and us, you get a sound.
Well, yeah, you do. I mean, don't forget, I've played with you guys and, jammed with you guys. And I don't think being in a, in a quartet of, in a horn section,
right,
is really a whole lot different than being in a rock band, with 4 guys, because it's
like a rhythm
chemistry.
Yeah.
You know what somebody's going to do. You can anticipate it. If something goes somewhere it's not supposed to go. We all know how to go there.
Right.
And that was the thing that amazed me, because I never thought about it. I never thought of, that you guys are all. It's kind of like you're the fingers on the hand all playing together on a keyboard. It's just it's just such a gelled and cohesive thing. It's amazing.
For those first 10 years, starting when we played at Tramps, honestly, what we would do is, we'd find out in advance who was going to come down and sit in with us, and without telling anybody, we work up little horn arrangements for their song. If it was Southside Johnny, if it was Johansson, whoever it was, Solomon Burke used to come down. That's how we ended up recording, playing with him. Albert Collins. When we knew they were coming down, we would sketch out little arrangements and make it look, but we wouldn't tell them we would do that. So when they came down and the people were there, it looked really spontaneous, and it was. But we had done our homework. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We did that for years and years, and then on nights we weren't doing that, we went around to clubs, frankly, in New York, and schmoozed. I mean, we played with Robert Plant and the Honey Drippers.
Well, I was going to ask about Plant. Was Bob Mayo in that band? Was that the tour that he did, or was that
with Robert Plant?
With Robert Plant?
No, he wasn't on that. It was an English band. It was around the time when Plant had that record, Shaken and Stirred.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Ahmet Erdogan had talked him into doing the Honey Drippers, right? And so they were his two records were competing with each other, and Ahmet made him take out, both things. And the thing that was the Honey Drippers was the Uptown Horns, right? So and I played a little synthesizer in his other thing, in his English band in the show. But by that time we were rolling. We had played together so much, and we'd been in so many tight situations, frankly, that we just knew each other. You know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly what you mean. I mean, you spend 20 years with guys.
We went on the road together. It was like so. By the time the Rolling Stones called us, I mean, we'd been around the block a few times. So we were ready. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I mean, who is there? Oh, is there a leader? And I don't mean that to separate somebody out, but there's no management, right? I mean, there's not.
No, we tried that a couple of times way back in the 80s, because once we started to get popular on playing on records and stuff, we had all been writing songs, and we played them at Tramps. So we made demos, and we got to a certain, after we played with the Giles band when they were number one, there was a lot of people saying, God, you got to make a record. We did. We got a one-off deal with EMI in England, and went to England and made it. It didn't go anywhere. We had a band. And after that, what we did was we decided, wait a minute, we're chasing after New Wave or whatever, what we're really about is roots music. So then we were in New York, and we had a group called the Uptown Horns Review with some great players. Our drummer was a guy named Crusher Green, who was amazing. He's no longer with us. Tony Garnier was our original bass player, who's been Bob Dylan's MD for years. Danny Dreyer on guitar, Charlie Giordano on keyboards. And we just backed up anybody who came to town. You know what I mean? Like concerts, all kinds of stuff. And we did our own material. We had singers who worked with us. And, we made some sides, we made some records, but it just wasn't in the stars for us to be, it's hard for any horn section to do that, to make that happen, because it's really about singers and stuff. But all that experience for us, the kind of people we are, was music. It was all great music, you know what I mean? So
yeah, sure.
There is no leader. It's a what do we call it? We call it a controlled anarchy. It's like, but we know each other so well, and we've been through so much, so we it's easy for us to find agreement.
Well, the reason, believe me, there's gotta be, and there doesn't have to be, obviously, a point man somewhere. But if somebody wants to get in touch with the Uptown Horns, is that
Well,
an easy thing to do, or?
that typically falls on the original, me and Arno, because we both kind of like were there in the beginning to talk about this idea, and we both had our own connections. He grew up in New York, I came up in Detroit and Boston, New England, and then New York myself. So, between us, we could really, but in terms of our direction and the things we do, we all have an equal voice.
Yeah, and no, I didn't. I wasn't even suggesting that there was somebody who was the producer of the show.
Yeah.
I just meant, somebody has to be the contact.
Yeah,
Because it's not. It's a section. It's not. If you hire the Uptown Horns, you're not hiring a band. You're hiring a section,
Right.
unless you're hiring the Uptown Horns review or show, whatever it is. And do you do that? Do you guys like?
Yeah, we have in the past, more in the past, and I also have a band of my own called Cracked Ice, and that's part of my business. Another thing I do with music, and it started out in the '90s with me doing my original material,
Uh-huh.
and Charlie Giordano was in that band. Ira Siegel was on guitar. Danny McDermott on drums. It kind of morphed over time, but my family moved out to Connecticut 20 years ago from New York City, where I lived, for a long time.
Yeah.
And my wife suggested to me, Krista suggested to me, you could do weddings, big weddings, And I
Yeah.
thought, I always hated doing weddings and getting hired for it. You know what I mean? But then I listened to her and I started thinking, but if it was my band and I was in control of everything, I would enjoy it, So I've had that going on for a long time. It's I don't really advertise. It's all word of mouth. And we have done weddings in Bermuda, in,
Ah.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming, all over the place, Martha's Vineyard. And I still do them. Not as many as I used to, but I love it. I love it because whenever we show up for any party or wedding, they already liked us. I
Right.
mean,
I get that. I
you know,
totally get that.
so, like we've done 3 weddings in one family over 10 years, in the horsey country of Maryland, where this family had 3 daughters getting married and, that kind of thing. So I love that, anything that to me, I'm positive. Music to me is positivity, and anything I can contribute on my own with the horns, with this band, Cracked Ice, to positive vibes about music in this day and age, to me is a plus.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, coming full circle, like I said, I don't know what it's like for kids coming up. For me, when I came up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, we were playing 6 nights a week, every week
Sure.
for
Oh,
years.
yeah.
So I got that, Vietnam kind of training, where you learn about it on the ground and it's, you get it all and you get a lot of it.
Yep.
But, that I don't know if that scene is even there. I watch these music competitions and I'm not sure how I feel about that whole thing
Right.
because they're not. I had an idea and I thought, man, they should get 4 bands, right? And I should get one, you should get one, 2 other people should get one, and we should take the band out on the road for the summer. Nobody knows who it is. You do whatever advertising, and the 4 bands go out there, and whoever winds up selling the most tickets and the most merchandise and the most, that's who wins, because that's the truth. That's ticket sales. That's
It is.
advertising. That's scraping down the road. So one of you bitches out there in TV land go steal my idea now. But
Um,
One of our
Yeah.
viewers that lives in Detroit wants to know if you ever played at Harpo's, St. Andrew Hall, or the Token Lounge.
all
I
3.
played at Harpo's.
All
Yeah.
3. But I'm, definitely older. I'm, still glad to be playing all the time. But so I mean, I go back to, I was in high school in the '60s. So on the East Side, there were places like the Hideout. Like I saw Bob Seger when he was in a band called Bob Seger and the Last Herd. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like uh, Mitch Ryder. I definitely saw Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels before they had their hits. You know, that's just before I was even doing music seriously. You know,
Wow.
plus I would for $5 you could go to in those days. You could go to the Michigan State Fairgrounds on Woodward Avenue and see the entire Motown review.
Oh.
I'm talking about 1964, 65. So I partook of that, and it never left me. You know, even when I didn't think I was going to do music, it was like that was such a strong emotion. And also, my best friend to this day was James Montgomery. And in high school, he was a year younger than me, and we asked him to be in our jug band, and he just became dedicated to the harmonica. And somehow, at 15 years old, he made friends with Muddy Waters, and he would go down to this club called Ethel's at 15 and sit in with Muddy. You know what I mean? And one of his oldest friends, who just passed away, but they have a new documentary which James produced. It was James Cotton,
Oh. I know
and
the James
I
Cotton.
met these guys through James, really. You know, and he stayed friends with them, and he's just, you know, that stayed with me. You know what I mean? But I believe that music, live music today, honestly, this is my really strong feeling, is local. And I know the scene I live in, which is Connecticut, Westchester, New York City, you know, New Jersey. Live music is as popular as ever, you know, with lots of generations, you know, including our generation loves to go out now and hear live music and supports it. And in Connecticut, there's this jam band scene, which kind of had some of its roots here, you know,
Mhm.
and it's huge. There's a band here that's about to break nationally. I don't know if you heard me, called Goose,
What is it called?
Goose,
Goose.
Goose,
Uh-huh.
and they're strictly out of the jam band scene. You know, like the same scene that, you know, Dave Matthews came out of. You know, and they're young. You know what I mean? They're in their 20s. They're great players. You know, they write all their own stuff, and they just came up through that network, which to me is one of the great. I mean, whether you like Fish or not, you know, the band,
Oh yeah, no, I
you
like what
know,
they do.
I like
Certainly.
them, and I like the fact that they're like some of the big matchers in this scene. You know what I mean? Which is like all over the country, and it doesn't have anything to do with, you know, American Idol or
Oh
anything like
no.
that. You know,
And look, I don't begrudge those people, you know, that take
no,
part in
no,
that. I mean, because ultimately, whoever wins usually is an incredibly talented person.
yes,
But I
right,
think the romance of the business is lost
yeah,
because
yes,
you know the person who finds stardom that way can discover in the middle of their career, you know, I don't really like doing this.
right,
Whereas if you got to tough it out on the road and you have to fight to keep doing it, then you know you're built for it. And the road is not for everyone. You know, we've said that 1,000 times. It chews people up, and if you don't know how to do it, you know what I mean. That's why, although you look like at somebody like Carrie Underwood, who won, you know, and
yeah.
she's a major star now, and Kelly,
Clarkson.
but yeah, Kelly Clarkson, and
Kelly Clarkson for sure. Well, I mean, it can happen anywhere. I mean, look at a guy like Trombone Shorty, you know, who I have played with. You know, I've done, you know, occasionally I do. We might have talked about this, but occasionally I do have music directed TV shows. You know,
yeah,
so I've done. I used to do the Mark Twain Prize at the Kennedy Center, and I did 2 shows from the White House in Obama's administration. And one of
wow,
them it was a celebration of the Endowment for the Arts 50th anniversary. So it was like all-star band I put together, and, you know, James Taylor, Billy Joel, you know, blah blah blah. But Trombone Shorty was on it. You know, there were a lot of R&B people on it, Smokey Robinson. Trombone Shorty came out and just blew my mind. You know what I mean? And I just talked to friends who saw him down in New Orleans for the festival.
hmm,
He said he did something at Preservation Hall where there were like 15 horn players. And my friend said, you know, they were all great, but there was only one who like lifted off through the ceiling, and it was Trombone Shorty. So, you know, it can come from anywhere, right? I
well,
mean,
yeah, it could come from anywhere. I mean, you know, usually the guys that are out in front of everything don't get the kind of recognition
Right.
the guys who came up behind him and had the benefit of the,
Right.
that it's just that's just the way it is, man. We pass it on. We do the best we
And
can.
the fact that we love music and we love to play it is now, I believe, what's getting over with people. It's like
Agreed.
they're finding out that they might have taken it for granted before, but now it's like this prized thing. You know what I mean? Because it's that's why I don't have to advertise for my band
Yeah, I
doing
understand.
events, is because people say music really is a deep thing with people, even if they don't know it. And people will say, well, if you're getting married, you have to have this band Cracked Ice because they're the best live band I ever heard. And what they mean is you don't hear it these days.
I know. Believe me,
So,
I know exactly what you mean, and I think
same goes
speaking
for the
to
horn
that,
section, by the way. When people hear us, it's like they look at these guys who, and they look at those old guys. Whoa, listen to the way they sound. You know what I mean? It's like that's that's the idea. It's like your
yeah.
life. Look at Keith
There's
Richards.
there's four fingers that go into every punch, man.
Right,
That's
right. And look at somebody like Keith Richards who's still really doing it for the music. You know what I mean? So
I know he's not doing it for any other reason.
no, no, it's real. It's real, and that's true across the board. And it's always people are always coming up who are gifted like that. So that's why I have, I'm very optimistic always about music.
Well, yeah, and I look, man. We get to live our dream no matter what. In the good times and the bad times, there's good times in the stock market. If you're a trader, there's good times and bad times in everything. I love what I do. When I listen to recordings or whatever, old shows, because now I'm putting together this rarities.
Right.
Album, and so I'm listening to all these shows that we did 20-25 years ago, and I can feel my shoulders twitching to play the parts.
Yes.
It's just so ingrained, and it's really it's weird. I'd like to get hooked up to one of those machines and see, but I've been hooked up to enough of those. So
The show, the
Go
show,
ahead.
the show we did with the first show we did with Steve Gaspar and the Hollywood All Stars, this place, the Wall Street Theater, maybe 600 to 800 seats, in Norwalk, Connecticut. We had rehearsed and we cut most of the record, so we knew the music. And as you know, it's an incredible band.
Incredible band. I mean, that's why I called the guys up at the label and said,
Yeah, I mean, the bass player Scott was with Johnny Winter for years. The drummer has been in the Real Blues Brothers, with Steve Cropper for years. Andy Abel on guitar.
yeah, sure, yeah.
And the singers are amazing. Tommy Bowes was in Tower Power. We came out and we did that show, and we weren't over rehearsed, but you could just feel the people responding in today's terms to music that was like that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so
And I think that's why tribute bands, back when we were coming up, a tribute band was a totally different thing than it is now.
right.
Now it's more like going to see a Broadway play than it is going to see guys pretending to be somebody else. And the point is, if you want to hear Foreigner, they're not out there. If you want to hear, whatever it is, whatever tribute band, whatever band you like, you've got to hear the next best thing because they're not playing anymore.
Right.
I mean, if guys that do standards, are they in a Frank Sinatra cover band? I don't think so. I think they're playing the standards and big band stuff. I think I say, hey man, if you can bring that memory back to somebody, whether you're Led Zeppelin or not, that's awesome because you're never going to hear it any other way. And I think that's why it has such legs right now. Which is cool.
Another thing I've gotten involved in here where I live in New England, in Connecticut, I live about an hour outside New York. You know where it is.
I know where. Believe me, I was from White Plains, so I'm right over the border.
Yes.
I know it well.
Well, I have met people out here who have a thing called Band Central, and they've had it for years. A guy named Rob Freed, and they have their own. They do 12 shows a year, different themed shows with most local musicians and people from New York, and it's to raise money for charities. But they own the charities. They've started halfway houses in Bridgeport, for autistic people, and they monitor, you know, so it's like a local thing, and it's turned into a real thing. I'm about to do 4 shows with them in the area, you know, this in June, starting in June. You know, there's one I think on June 2nd at a new place called the Park City Music Hall in Bridgeport. You know, it's just local, all kinds of local music. Charlie Carter used to do them before he passed. Great guitar player from this area. And I've become enthralled with that whole thing of what music could do today now. Us, you know, what we can do to try and lift, you know, and raise money and, you know, for worthwhile causes and make people feel happy, you know. So I like
no,
that.
it's all good. I mean, I did a, you know, it's funny because I had a trio that, you know, was the same guys for years and years and years.
Right.
And we would go and back up all kinds of people, and like Robin Zander said, "Hey, would you guys come? I got the," and we wound up touring with him for 3 years, and then we did a thing with a couple of guys from AC/DC, and just, you know, it's just if you're laying down the real thing, it doesn't, you know, somebody's going to figure it out. That's, you know.
Well, the thing I mentioned is stuff I do around here with the Uptown Horns. We're in actually play with this group a few times a year called the American Vinyl All Stars.
Oh yeah.
Does nothing but charity stuff, but you know, we get paid, but it's expenses, and that's led by Skunk Baxter. You know.
Oh yeah, but you know, it's very funny because I have a dat of skunks that I have to return to him. I kind of got it. Well, it doesn't matter how I got it, but yeah, I played with Skunk. He actually jammed with us at House of Blues because him and Entwistle had Baxter Entwistle. You know, it's all this whole big.
Here's a fun fact. My old buddy James Montgomery, you know, I grew up with. I went to University of Michigan. He went to BU, Boston University.
Mhm.
Freshman year, his assigned roommate was Jeff Baxter, Skunk Baxter. They've known each other since they were 18, you know. And
That's nuts.
and they jammed. They, you know, when they were like freshmen, sophomores in college, you know. So it's amazing.
Well, that's, yeah, man. That's I played. Skunk does rock and roll fantasy camp.
Yes.
And
yes.
we've had some dressing room conversations back there. Me, him, Mark Hudson, Simon Kirk from Bad Company, and he's a funny guy.
Yes.
He is a funny dude. But yeah, I'm going to blow his mind because I have this DAT. I'm going through all my Entwistle shows, and you know, for the record thing, and I find this thing that says Baxter Entwistle. So I called up his manager, who I was working with for a little while, and I said, "Ask Skunk if he remembers that." And it's like, oh, so now I get to be a hero and return an archive. You know?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's cool. It's all cool. It's all good. So what's next for you?
Well, the thing we're working with the Uptown Horns, it's this album we're doing, you know, starting next week with Arlen Roth and Jerry Jamot, which I got to say, the tracks are blowing our minds. I know that that's going to get heard. It's that good. You know, there are a couple of vocals, but a lot of it's instrumental on stuff like Dancing in the Street and Higher, you know.
Oh.
And we're, you know, with Chris Parker on drums and Jerry Jamot. And so that's exciting. We have a couple of shows this summer with, this is all on my website, by the way, crispinmusic.com.
crispinmusic.com.
One word, crispinmusic.com.
Got it.
We have a couple of shows this summer with Hollywood All Stars with Steve Gaspar. So
We'll
that's
be pushing those. Well, listen, anything you're doing, let us know. We'll push.
right. I have a show with James Montgomery and later in August up in New England area. You know, I've been doing a little producing too, because I'm just, you know, the COVID thing got me doing a little producing for stuff where I would do it virtually. You know, like I've got a network of players, you know, and we could, you know, I've got a drummer friend who's completely set up, like probably like you are wired, you know, completely stationary. So if I send him a track, we send him a bass track with a click track, he can, you know, and I can put together. So I've been doing that. I did it for a friend of mine who's a writer last year named John Eskow, who's he's a film, you know, he writes film scripts. He wrote that Zorro movie, you know, and he wrote Air America for Mel Gibson. but he's a very old friend. We met in a band when I first moved to New York, and he's also a songwriter and he sings. And he wrote a song called QAnon Girl that a little bit of a, suggest musically, it's a little bit suggestive of Cinnamon Girl, by Neil Young. Not a ripoff, but in that area. And
That's
I
funny. I can hear it.
I produced it. It's on YouTube, and it got like 7,000 hits in a couple of days. So I had so much fun doing that. I'm doing it again for another friend now on a completely different subject. A friend of mine from Detroit who wrote a song about something sort of tragic that happened there not too long ago. And he wrote a song and he played just acoustic guitar on the phone and sang it. I thought, I could produce that, So I'm sort of drifting into that. I have done that kind of work previously for movie songs for movies and stuff, So I'm into that. I'm trying to get, I'm not completely 100% going out and playing every night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? But I'm edging back into more and more. And, I know you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. And believe me, man. I mean, if I didn't have my studio and a lot of the stuff that I do, because I score, I do underscore for TV as well, and I've got a bunch of shows that I get to work on, and so, I get to walk down the hallway to work every day, and and do my favorite thing, whether I'm laying a drum track or mixing it's. If I can't imagine if well, again, I don't want to circle all the way back to bad timing, but I wasn't planning on doing anything in 2020 except for the projects that I had to do,
right.
And all of a sudden,
right.
I luckily that lined up with the way things worked out, but
right.
but now I'm itching,
Well, I still perform live with Darlene Love all the time.
Oh yeah.
She's somebody I always want to play with. I've been doing it for years, and she stays busy. We just did a concert in New York. We've got something coming up in Lynn, Massachusetts on June 6th, I believe, and all kinds of stuff, with her, which I love,
Yeah, man.
And it's a killer band, and she's like a legend, and she still sounds amazing. She's 80 years old, and she kicks ass. Everybody in her band, she kickboxes 3 times a week, and you get on stage with her, and you gotta bring it. You know what I mean? And I love that. I love it.
Yeah, man, believe me, I love that too. And man, I mean, you guys are so blessed to be working, and everybody's healthy. Arno's on the way back. We say,
he's on the way back. I think he's going to go back out. I hope. I think in a few months he'll probably be performing again with Dion.
Yeah,
which he's been doing for years, just like I play with Darlene. So I know that's going to make him happy.
Yeah.
I'm having as much fun and as into playing the saxophone by myself and with other people and with the Uptown Horns as ever in my life. That's the way I feel.
That's the dream, bro. That's the dream. If you look forward to getting up tomorrow, because guess what? There's fun stuff on the schedule. It doesn't get better than that. I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'm gonna let you go because I'm gonna play a commercial. But I was I was developing a fashion line, blah blah blah, this whole thing, and a girl who was helping me develop the line said, would you like to play a round of golf with my boyfriend and I? And so Laurie and I said, yeah, we'll play with you. And we meet the guy's name's David, and I said, hey man, and he says, well, I forget how we got to the subject, but he said, I have everybody's dream job. And I thought to myself, are you a rock star? It turned out he was a professional golfer. I said, that is not a lot of people's dream job, man. You're out in the sun all day, walking very far.
Well, he was a golf pro.
Yeah, he was a golf pro, but he was just, nah, man, we got the gig. That's what it is. Not even actors.
I wanted to mention one more thing.
Please.
I might have mentioned it before when we last talked. For 10 years, I've been working as co-producer on a documentary film about somebody I used to play with named Willie DeVille and the band Mink DeVille.
Yeah, Mink DeVille. We had somebody else from that band on the show a while back.
Mark
He's-
Johnson.
Mark Johnson.
Yes. Well, Willie was from Connecticut originally. He died in 2009, but
Yeah.
he was one of the, I would do a tour with him maybe in Europe or something in the 80s, and then we had the Uptown Horns going. But I just loved playing with him. Yeah, I thought he was one of the greatest singers I ever heard. And this guy, a documentary director named Larry Locke, approached me about working on the film because I knew where all the bodies were buried, and all the people.
Yeah.
And I played with him, and it took a while, but I think this fall we're gonna have some big announcements about festivals and stuff. So,
Oh.
Let me know,
that
man.
was a labor
Shout
of
it
love.
out.
That was a labor of, but we got people. I got people. I put the people. Talked to the people, got them in the movie. So we have Peter Wolf in there who idolized. Peter was just loved Willie. And I used to play with Peter in the Jay Giles band, so he was happy to do that. All kinds of people. Wayne Kramer from MC5.
Oh, sure.
Knew Willie pretty well. He had some great things to say. Benny King, the late great Benny King, adored Willie's voice, and I got him. We interviewed him, and and there's a lot of footage, great performance footage, and there's sadness in the story, but he was a musical triumph as far as I'm concerned, and I just wanted to do it to get his story out. So that's
I get that, bro. And like I said, man, Crispin, just let me know what's going on because it is about word of mouth.
Yes.
You can hang up all the signs you want, but you really need people to be able to connect with it and see it and drive it around. So like I said, when I heard Steve, when I heard y'all's record, I called up the label right away and said, man, this is a classic sound. It's a real sound.
Yep.
It's not it's actual gifts that are spread out amongst the stage. So my hat's off to you, man. I'm glad you guys are playing. Again, please give Arno my best.
I will.
I would love to find my way onto a track somewhere. So if you need a rock drummer with a little bit of funk, let me know.
Yes.
And it's cool. It's good to see you, bro.
It's great. I didn't get to see you, Laurie, but it's great to hear you.
No one gets to see her. Do you know the artist Sia? The one that.
Yes, I do. Where's the stuff over?
Yeah,
here?
well, she can't see you.
Can I tell one more little story?
Please,
Sure.
please, yeah.
This happened last summer, but it's still fresh in my memory. So I told you I have this band, Cracked Ice, and we do we used to do a lot, but we do a fair amount of parties and weddings. And I got called to do one last summer, in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
And I began, and as the date approached, I realized that the groom's, there was some celebrities there, but the groom's best friend and best man was John Mayer, right?
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So, as it approached, I was saying to the bride and groom, is John going to sing a song? Blah, blah, blah. John wanted to sing an acoustic, song and play acoustic. So I set that up for him. But I also asked I have a great guitarist in my band named Mark Newman from Long Island. And I said, Mark, bring an extra amp, like a Fender Deluxe, and a really, an extra guitar, tune it, and have it just. So John did his song, and everybody laughed. And he came over to put his acoustic away, and I was there, and I said, John, see that? And he looked at the amp, didn't say anything. And we were playing like What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, right?
Oh.
He went over, he picked up the guitar, he put it on. There was a pick, and he played for an hour nonstop. It was unbelievable. He was and he didn't just solo, he played great parts, he played great with my guitar player. So that was like one of those things where you go, well, this
Well, here's the
world
thing
is okay,
about that. Guys like to we like to play, man. We are players. I mean, that's just what it is. It's like, I mean, it's like we're all eating lunch, and I'm over there and I'm hungry. You want something to eat? Hell yeah! And I mean, it's you know what? Ent Whistler used to say that he would play at the opening of an envelope if there was somebody there to listen. So, you know, man, I mean, and that's a guy who absolutely typified what you're talking about. This is a guy who got off playing a Who show at Giant Stadium and said, "Let's go jam at Barbat."
Right, right.
Yeah.
I did meet him once, and he came off that way to me exactly. That's he was complaining about Ent Whistle that didn't want to work enough. Like that, and this was like way back. In the 80s.
Townsend, yeah.
Yeah, it was Pete that didn't want. Yeah, Pete. In fact, you mentioned Preservation Hall. Pete was over there playing banjo with those guys in this last run with it. Yeah, it's it's nuts. It's a beautiful thing that we do. We're blessed to be able to do it. And man, that's I mean, what else is there?
And you have to let us know when the Willie DeVille documentary comes.
Oh, I'll keep you posted. I will definitely keep you posted.
Yeah,
it's a long slog doing one of those kind of things, bootstrapping it and everything, But I knew the people, and the director's really good, and he's done a lot of documentaries, and he was just inspired. He's a little younger, so he never saw Willie live, but we felt it's like a story that needs to be told.
Well, I agree, and just on that note, I don't know if I mentioned my film to you, the documentary that I did about Ent Whistle's life, called An Ox's Tale. Wow. And I mean, you talk about getting stories. I get a call from Pete a few days before Christmas, the year that we were shooting. We started it when John was alive. Justin Kreutzmann, son of the Grateful Dead drummer, Bill Kreutzmann, filmmaker, says, blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't know. I called John up, and anyway, we concocted this reason to get together and do something. Right. And the Who were getting ready to go out, and I said, well, maybe we do a documentary about what it's like to, a soldier, dust off your old guns, get ready to go back out to war. It might be cool for people. So, and he was, oh, yeah. He's the one who named it An Ox's Tale, right?
Yeah, right.
So he passes away before we finish the thing, and it's a little bit more complicated than that. But years later, I get a call from these guys on the West Coast that had seen some of the rushes asking me if I wanted to finish it, and I called Pete. Pete sat for 3.5 hours just telling stories. It was amazing. Oh, wow. Ray Manzarek before he passed, Billy Squire.
Did Roger?
No, Roger wouldn't do it. Roger said, "I'm not talking about John Ent Whistle anymore." No, no, and their their relationship was somewhat contentious. It was because it was always a volume struggle with them. Roger's ripping his throat out and trying to get more monitors, and John's bringing in Little Manhattan. So it's. But yeah, no, Roger didn't do it. Bobby Pridden, the sound, their sound guy did it.
Robin.
Xander did it. Chris Squire was in it. God, I can't even think of all the people. Roger Glover, all bass players, and people that I know. So I sat there and I probably did exactly what you do. I sit there and have the conversation while somebody's rolling tape. And somebody who knows how to edit. So I wish you all the luck in the world. If you want to, mine's out there. If you search Ox's Tale.
I'll look, yeah.
Yeah, it's on Prime or you'll find it. It's easy enough. And man, I wish you every success, but I think that wish already came true. So man, excellent.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It's great talking to you.
It's great talking to you. Let's, have a great one. And I'll be back and keep us posted on what's going on, bro.
Yes, you'll be hearing.
All right, I'll look forward to it. Take
Bye-bye.
care. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye, Crispin.
Bye, Laurie.
That is one talented man.
Yeah.
All those guys. And again, Godspeed to Arno. Put your good energy going in his direction.
Yep.
And these are all great guys, and they're guys who love what they do, and that's why they work, because they love what they do, and they They deserve every good fortune that they get because they are talented. And again, you know, I say it all the time. If you can sit in a room and pick up an acoustic instrument or play a piano or sing or, you know, a horn, that's pretty amazing. I mean, synthesizers and all that stuff
Plus,
is cool.
Crispin's got a great personality.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's and always been. I mean, he's got that kind of. I can understand why he would fit in with the Stones and fit in with James Brown
And Robert Plant.
Yeah, it's just you know. I mean, you're just part of that thing, and there's you know they're great. The Uptown Horns. I hope I get a chance to play with them again someday. Anyway.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
that concludes our night.
Yeah, I
Tomorrow
enjoyed
night,
that.
Anything goes.
Oh, anything goes. So
Wednesday.
do we have no, yes?
No what?
Request? Or are we just gonna make it up as we go?
Oh. No one put in any requests.
Nobody wants to hear anything. Okay, that's all right.
Okay, we will surprise
That's
you.
all right. We'll surprise you. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
we
Oh,
will.
yes.
Okay.
And so big thank you to Crispin CO, the Uptown Horns, the Hollywood All-Stars, Steve Gaspar, and our mutual label, Deco Entertainment. So on that happy note, if I don't see you in the future, I'll see you in the pasture.
Good night, everybody. Oh, thank you, Lori.
What? Thank you, Lori. What happened to Lori?
You got to send her stars. Okay, so Sue says surprises are good. Good night, everybody.
Okay,
See you
kids,
tomorrow.
we're out of here. See you tomorrow. Take care. Do I know where it is? I know where it is. I know it. The button's not working. It was a perfect show.
All right,
It was
give me
going
back
along.
the buttons.
What, you want the buttons back?
Not tonight.
I'm going to give them to you.
Not today.
Why can I not find the end of this freaking show? Oh, well. Okay, I'll go with this.